makes any sense. We're hooked again.
Welcome back. It's been a few months. I believe since February. And as you can see now, the car has been painted. I still, once it got back from paint, I had to wet sand it and buff it. So there's still some spots in the paint that need to be detailed, and they're not, I guess, close to the edges where, you know, they tell you to stay away from. I stayed away from it, so I do need to come back with like a DA and get those little spots by the, you know, the corners and edges and all that, because you can tell they have a little haze from them still from the buffing process. But this is the car right now. It's on the quick jacks, and here's the trunk. I was able to paint tint the taillights black. Came out a lot better. So last time I made a video, there was no motor in the car. I was just putting the K-member in. Now I was able to put in the Coyote. It was a fight, but it's done. Dropped the motor and the transmission at the same time, along with, you know, the bell housing, clutch, and all that, all at once. It's looking good. It's a lot smaller, or not smaller, but it's further back than the original roller block. There's a lot of space right here, which I kind of like. Right now it's kind of leaning back. I don't got a transmission mount. I need to get one for the T56. I tried using my stiflers for the C4 transmission and power glide, and it's not gonna work, so I have to go and order the T56 cross member. So I did had to install spacer plates. These are 1/2-inch spacer plates for the K-member. I did that so I can have clearance for the brake line and quadrant right there for the clutch cable. And then also I did have to install spacers for the motor mounts. And that's to clear the pan right here. So before I put the motor mounts, the pan was kissing the steering column, or the manual rack. It was just kissing it, but I didn't feel comfortable with that because the movement of the motors, you know, the torque and all that. So I decided just to put the 3/8 spacers on, which came out good. They still need to be torqued to spec. Everything else on the motor is torqued to spec. I put a new billet flywheel from Ford Racing. And then I put a dual center force clutch that came with the kit. All this stuff has come with the kit. And then they give you the QuickTime bell housing to mount up to, along with a block plate that bolts to the bell housing. That way everything is sealed in case the clutch happened to blow up, and you know, everything stays in that casing. Here are the fuel lines. I'm gonna have to remake the fuel lines. I have 2 fuel lines I used to have to feed into each fuel rail on the roller motor, but now the Coyote only takes one fuel line. So I have twin pumps, so what I'm gonna do is just go from those twin pumps, put a Y, and make it into one line, and then it'll go into regulator and then out to the intake. And then also at the regulator is where the return line will go. Door, everything in the back. So I was able to put most of it back together again. I did leave all this open still because I still need to wire up the control pack, and I'm going to need access underneath the dash. I did install the manual brake pedal earlier videos. I do need to adjust that. I was trying to roll the car back from paint one day after I washed it outside, and the brakes were just adjusted too tight, so the car wasn't moving. So I need to adjust that. But everything else is looking pretty good. Taking my time with it. Adjusted the doors since I put all the weather strip back on. Got the new roof rail moldings. So, but this is a star of the car. Still got to do cross member, do the control pack, do all the wiring up. This also came with the kit. It's a Boss alternator, so that fit right there. Came with all the goodies inside. Came with the Boss belt, I guess, that they put on it. So that's all I'm gonna be running. I'm not running an AC right now. No hydro boost, nothing like that. It's just the car and the amp. That's all. Well, basically the water pump and the amp. That's all it's pulling. So, and I use this motor plate from MotionWorks. It's a good plate. It's the only thing about it is that it's real pricey. It's $100 and something for the plate. I believe I got it at LMR. And I did get. I had some original coil cover, but they were the gray color. Everything I have is the stock gray color that came with the module. So I went ahead and bought the Ford blue ones. I believe they were about 80 bucks. So I have the original ones. I painted those a blue also, but they just were not the same shade as this. So what I think I'm going to do is I'll have the other set that I painted. I'll repaint them the color of the car, you know, just a color match. And then I'll stick those in. Or I can just sell them. Don't know. I do like these blue ones though. But that's it. That's pretty much everything. This is an update. And I'll keep updating you throughout the process. Slowly but surely it's getting there. Let me give you a look from the underneath. So these are the BB key headers. These headers were a pain in the butt to install. I did have to clearance the other side for the bell housing, just a tad. There's the transmission. They fit. So the hard part I had dropping in the motor was the headers would not fit no matter how high I angled the motor with the transmission. It would have been easier to have the transmission off of the car, off the motor, but it took me a while. You know, it took me a while to attach the transmission, bell housing, and all that, and torque everything. So, because I had originally planned to do it all in one. So what I had to end up doing was drop the K-member while I was putting the motor in the car. And that allowed me the space I needed to clear the headers to stick it in. And then once the motor was in place, I bolted the K-member back to once the motor was in place, I make sure to bolt the motor mounts from the engine to the K-member. And then from the K-member, I bolted back up. I used a jack to position K-member back into the place so I can bolt them up. So it worked out good. Only thing I gotta take care of now before I start some other things is put the steering shaft back on, which is right here. I had to make some adjustments to lengthen it since I did drop the K-member about 1/2 inch. So I had to just re-drill some holes and lengthen it. So I did that. I have to adjust the brake line. For the most part, it fits. It's tight, but it fits. If anything, I was thinking about rebending or just making a new line coming, underneath it, or I'm not sure where to go to get those flexible lines that are made ready or custom made. But I don't want to spend $100 for flexible brake lines. So we'll see. Also, since I'm doing this Coyote Swap, I changed the name of the Instagram for this car. So I'm going to be changing the name for this YouTube channel because it's not boosted anymore. But that's it. See you on the next one.
Light up the night. Such a pretty sight. Thrilling keeps me in the game. Thrilling, you don't even feel the pain. Wilder than your wildest dreams. When you're going to extremes.